You know, this is probably the first time I uploaded 2 negative reviews back to back. So today, I'm going to be breaking that streak. But I'm not just going to be talking about something I like. I'm going to be talking about something I love. Today, we're going over a film from my childhood that I was obsessed with for a period, and that recently turned 10 years old. Today, we're talking about Legends of Oz, Dorothy Returns.
Can't seem to find the yellow brick
House, wall, fireplace.
road.
Oh, of course. Why would you be looking for a yellow brick wall?
Eat your fucking heart out, Scorsese. Yeah, I'm just kidding. In the year 2008, a man named Dan Lin was sitting in his home watching his 5-year-old son playing with Lego. His son used 2 pieces of Lego to make a ship, and Mr. Lin found it quite fascinating that the Lego toy could inspire him to make 2 basic-ass pieces into a plane. He was so fascinated he thought, I want to make a movie out of this. So he hired Dan and Kevin Hageman to write a script about an ordinary Lego man going on some crazy adventure. And then they flew down to pitch the film to the Lego HQ in Denmark. The people at the Lego HQ were hesitant at first, given how huge the Lego brand already was. But the vice president at the time, Jill Wilfred, felt it could actually bring value to the brand. So around 2010 or 2011, Warner Bros., back when they actually somewhat valued the art of film, picked the film up and hired Phil Lord and Chris Miller to retool the script and direct the film. And retool they did. Only a few years later, the Lego movie would hit theaters and be a massive hit. I finally remember when I was 8 years old, I was walking down a film hallway with my dad. Then we saw a poster for this Lego movie. Dad asked me if I wanted to see it, then I said, nah. Then we got into the theater, and then one of the trailers just so happened to be for this Lego movie.
Jumping jacks, hit him. 1, 2, 3. I am so pumped up!
It actually looked really darn funny, and the animation was so cool. That's when I changed my mind on seeing the film. So I waited for it to come out, me and my dad saw it, and I was never the same since. For a while at least. After seeing this movie, for a brief time in my childhood, I was freaking obsessed with it. Saw it twice in theaters, bought almost all the sets, played the tie-in game for hours on end. This movie was my pride and joy for a while. I did eventually grow out of this phase before 2015, as many kids do, but I still like the movie, and would continue to rewatch it every now and again. Now it's officially been 10 years since the film hit theaters. With that, I decided to watch the film again, and not only does it hold up super well, but now that I'm an adult, I can appreciate the film a lot more beyond all the silly gags and fun visuals. I'm not joking when I say the Lego Movie is genuinely one of my favorite movies of all time. Not only is it genuinely really funny, but it can get really heartfelt, has genuinely nice and well executed themes, and all in all is a wonderful love letter to the toy it's based on. I know I'm pretty late to doing a 10-year analysis on the film, given that this video will come out a month after the fact, but I don't really care. I love this movie to hell and back, and I want to talk about it. Anyway, let's talk about this film and why it's still a masterpiece. Pun entirely intended. The movie opens with our main villain, Lord Business, stealing an all-powerful weapon known as the Craggle. The defender of the Craggle, Vitruvius, tries to protect the weapon but is ultimately blinded. Lord Business is about to make off with the Craggle, but Vitruvius states that there's a prophecy about an artifact that can destroy the Craggle called the Piece of Resistance. One day, a talented lasser fellow, a special one with face of yellow, will make a piece of resistance found from its hiding refuge underground. With a noble army at the helm, his master builder will thwart the Craggle and save the realm, and be the greatest, most interesting, most important person of all times. All this is true because it rhymes. 8.5 years later, we meet the film's protagonist, Emmett Burkowski, who's a pretty likable and charming character. His dopiness is pretty humorous, but despite that, his heart is still in the right place. I know a lot of people like to rag on Chris Pratt these days for using the same voice for every character, and how he's had so many roles from Mario to Garfield to the fucking Pringles man. But despite all that, he's still a genuinely good actor, and here he definitely brings Emmett to life. We see him go about his daily routine using a freaking instruction booklet for that.
Good grief, he's naked!
This damn thing tells him how to breathe. You cannot make this shit up. It's funny how he relies on an instruction booklet to do normal shit like shower and greet people, but it also plays into the film's themes that I'll talk more about later. Anyway, we see Emmett go about his daily routine as the film's famous song, Everything Is Awesome, plays in the background. It's where we also see that Emmett's a construction worker. I just realized this as I'm recording, but it does sort of make sense for the protagonist of a Lego movie to be a construction worker. Anyway, a couple hours after the job, the workers go off to have some fun, and when Emmett tries to join them, no one seems to notice him. Emmett loses his instructions, then he notices a strange hooded figure digging around the place. He's about to report them until... Did I mention this film is insanely funny? I also found this movie insanely funny when I was a kid, and I still feel that way now. Lots of the gags are based around the characters and how they interact. Gags about these characters being Lego, like Emmett doing jumping jacks. Some meta jokes here and there. And yeah, just about every gag in this movie hits. The woman leaves and Emmett tries to go after her, but falls into a hole and discovers this strange red brick. He touches it and then he has this trippy vision. He then wakes up being interrogated by Lord Business's second in command, Bad Cop. If you know anything about Lego, then you know that some minifigs would have two faces on each side with different emotions. Well, I like how Bad Cop also has a good cop face on his other side. That's really clever. Bad Cop questions Emmett about the prophecy of the special, the piece of resistance which got stuck to his back, and brings up how President Business is going to end the world in 3 days with the Craggle. Emmett tries to tell Bad Cop that he's just a regular guy and doesn't know anything about the prophecy or the piece on his back, and tells Bad Cop to ask his friends. And he actually did prior to the interrogation. Bad Cop shows Emmett a video of him talking with his coworkers, and they say he isn't the special. But they also say this.
But you know, he's not like normal like us. No, he's not that special.
Hey, Harry, well, when you say Harry, I go, when you say the other guy, I go.
Emmett realizes he's kind of a nobody in his community, and none of the people he knows know him back. Emmett's become so attached to following the rules and his instructions that he hasn't been able to do anything to help him stand out. Bad Cop still isn't convinced that Emmett is just a normal guy, so he takes him to the melting chamber to have the piece removed.
Cha-cha-cha!
Then the mysterious girl shows up and fights off the robots. Something else I want to mention is how everyone comments on how the animation in this film is really good, with how they made every little thing Lego, and all the fingerprints and marks on the Lego figures and stuff. But I don't think people give enough credit for the action scenes, because they're really fast-paced, well-animated, and well-choreographed. The woman rescues Emmett, leading to a chase scene. The woman also believes that Emmett isn't an ordinary construction worker, and believes it to be an act. The woman makes his motorcycle and they drive off. The woman then tells Emmett he's the special, and because he found the piece of resistance, he's the most talented and important person in the universe. What the woman says really strikes a chord with Emmett, especially after hearing his coworkers call him a nobody. Then the woman asks if he's a special, and he says,
Yes, that's me.
Great, you drive.
The chase continues, and the woman's impressed with what Emmett's done, and she says her name is Wildstyle. Wildstyle opens a secret tunnel, but when she sees Emmett refuse to fly through the tunnel, that's when it finally hits her that Emmett ain't shit. Something else worth noting is that in any other film, they would save the moment where Wildstyle, and I guess the other characters we'll talk about later, discover that Emmett is a fraud, and they'd all stop trusting him for the sake of cheap drama. But no, they don't do that. Wildstyle discovers this almost immediately after meeting Emmett, and that aspect is a major plot point. The two end up in the Old West, so they get some disguises, and Wildstyle explains to Emmett what's going on. Basically, Emmett's hometown, Bricksburg, is one of many worlds. Those worlds being a pirate world, a night world, a clown world, etc. The people of each world used to have the freedom to roam each world and build whatever they wanted. President Business was confused by all this chaos, so he separated the worlds and made sure everything was perfect and to his liking, also hiring Bad Cop to hunt down master builders, people who can make Lego creations without instructions. As we see later in the film, what Trapp said master builders in a room called the think tank, with all forced into using their creativity to make instructions for Lord Business's creations. And the master builders tried searching for the piece of resistance, the only thing that could stop the Craggle. Emmett remembers what Bad Cop said back in the interrogation room, and how President Business is going to use the Craggle to end the world in 3 days on a holiday he called Taco Tuesday. We then cut to Lord Business's office tower where we get some more insight on his plan. This is also where we see he's collected what looks like regular human objects, where he thinks they're powerful ancient relics. Almost like a good chunk of the movie is just a kid playing with his Lego. I bring this up because here we finally get to see what the Craggle looks like, and it's a tube of super glue. Lord Business says he's tired of everyone messing around and making new things with his stuff. So to properly ensure order across the universe, he has his robots hook the Craggle to this thing which connects to a bunch of tubes that'll squirt superglue. So on Taco Tuesday, the tubes are going to squirt everyone and freeze them, along with these giant robots called micromanagers putting everyone in place. Both the tube and the manager are tested on Bad Cop's parents, by the way, sort of foreshadowing a redemption for the guy. I don't know if this was intentional or not, but Lord Business and his plan might just be a subtle jab towards the film industry. Lord Business wants everything in Bricksburg, and I guess the rest of the Lego universe, to be the way he wants it. He wants everything for these people to be super safe, bland, and repetitive. He wants them to follow the same rules on a daily basis, listen to the same song, watch the same show with the same joke on repeat, and doesn't want anyone messing with these rules or building their own things. Sort of like how film and TV CEOs like to water down ideas for movies and shows to fit what they think will get more views. And as I said before, it's had a massive impact on Emmett, seeing as he's become so attached to the rules and the status quo that he's become a complete nobody in his community. Something else I also want to mention. As I said earlier, the master builders that Business and Bad Cop capture over the years will be taken into the think tank and have their imagination and talent used to make stuff they don't want to make. Sort of like how creative and talented people sometimes get involved in bad movies they most likely didn't want to make, solely for a paycheck. Again, this probably wasn't intentional, but I did see some parallels. Going back to our heroes, they meet up with Vitruvius, who's now blind. They head upstairs and Wildstyle clarifies that she's not sure if Emmett could be the special, seeing as he's not a master builder. But Vitruvius believes there must be a reason he was chosen. So they enter his mind where they see it's really blank, further showing Emmett's lack of imagination and independence. He did have one idea though, but it's a pretty dumb idea. It's a bunk bed-like couch. That's probably not going to be important later. Emmett then recalls this massive hand he saw in his vision when touching the piece of resistance. And that's what convinces Vitruvius that Emmett has the potential to stop Lord Business. Vitruvius is about to train Emmett to be a master builder until they're chased down by Bad Cop and his robots. At some point our heroes are riding on this thing, not exactly sure what it is, and the wheel breaks off as our heroes are headed towards a cliff.
Spins around. You need to attach the wheel to something that spins around, spins around.
With that, Emmett actually gets the idea to place the wheel on his head and attach himself to the side of the car as they manage to avoid falling to their doom. This would be the first time Emmett actually had a good, helpful idea, even if it is a little silly. The chase continues on a train where, after almost falling to their death, our heroes are rescued by freaking Batman, who's also Wildstyle's boyfriend. Throughout the film, Emmett is seen to have a crush on Wildstyle, so with that in mind, any other film would probably have a love triangle between these three, but it's not the case here. Emmett and Batman don't really have any beef with each other, and Emmett seems pretty content with Wildstyle being in a relationship as is. I guess I should also mention Batman is insanely funny. Easily one of my favorite characters in the film. He's kind of this egotistical douchebag who's willing to ditch the team at any point, but it's actually really funny, and Will Arnett does such a good job playing him. After briefly going through Middle Zealand, our heroes end up at the Master Builder's meeting ground, Cuckoo Land, ruled by Princess Unikitty, another great charming side character. She has this enduring childlike innocence to her that Alison Brie just does a great job with. Cuckoo Land is basically the exact opposite of Bricksburg. Where Bricksburg is littered with rules and boundaries, Cuckoo Land has no rules. There's also no government, no babysitters, no bedtimes, no frowny faces, no bushy mustaches, and no negativity of any kind.
You just said the word no like 1,000 times.
And there's also no consistency. So everyone meets up at the Dog, the meeting place for all the master builders, and we see more famous characters like other DC heroes, Gandalf, Green Ninja, Michelangelo, Milhouse. Not even anyone from the Maid Simpson family, just fucking Milhouse. People pointed out how this movie sort of inspired other movies like Ralph 2, Ready Player One, and Chip and Dale featuring Ugly Sonic to have a shit ton of established IPs in one film. In those films, it doesn't work quite as well because they were only getting all these characters together for the sake of it, not because they actually added something to the story. In this movie, the IP cameos aren't overused, but still have some meaning to the film. Remember when you were a kid and you had toys based off certain films or shows along with toys that were original? I think you catch my drift. And trust me, it'll make more sense later. Emmett gives a speech to the Master Builders, but is interrupted by another new character, Metalbeard, who explains how he used to have a crew that tried to infiltrate Lord Business's tower, but he failed, causing him to lose his body, and now he has a giant robot body. That's also when Emmett confesses that he's not a Master Builder, and he has little to no experience in leading. Everyone takes it pretty well.
There was about to be a but. You're a but!
So Cuckoo Land then gets attacked by Bad Cop and the robots. Seeing as earlier in the film, Bad Cop shot Emmett's leg with a tracking device. Now Cuckoo Land is being destroyed and all the Master Builders are captured. Our heroes, now joined by 1980-something space guy Benny, yeah, I want to talk about this. This movie has quite a lot of side characters with 7 main heroes. In most other movies, it would kind of be a detriment, seeing as the side characters in those films would barely have any development or, well, character. Here, while yes, some side characters don't add a whole lot to the story, they're still memorable and charming enough that I don't really mind that much. Plus, Benny here has a running gag about making a spaceship that'll pay off later. Everyone decides to make a submarine to head underwater, but it seems like everyone has conflicting ideas for what the sub should be like. Unikitty wants it to be super colorful, Batman wants it to be black, Benny wants it to be like an underwater spaceship. You get the idea. Our heroes manage to escape underwater, where we get this honestly kinda heart-wrenching scene of Unikitty looking over the destruction of her home, trying to repress all her negative thoughts. That bit'll also play off later. By the way, she only refers negative thoughts as the opposite of happiness, really showing how she's trying to repress them. Anyway, yeah, very good scene, and Alison Brie crushes it here. I also gotta compliment the voice acting in general. Everyone does a great job of the comedic timing and stuff, but they also do really great with the emotional moments too. The submarine then becomes unstable and blows up. However, Emmett ended up making a double-decker couch, and despite seeming like such a useless and terrible idea, seeing as it wasn't a complete clusterfuck of ideas, it actually managed to prevent our heroes from drowning. Metalbeard then shows up and takes our heroes on his ship after initially ditching everyone after Emmett revealed he wasn't a master builder. He came back because he saw one of the micromanagers completely overlook the double-decker couch, and he says they need more dumb and bad ideas like it. This is another interesting thing I want to point out. This film is all about celebrating creativity, embracing the idea of using your imagination, whilst having a villain who wants to be rid of the concept. But the movie also shows that too much creativity can be a bad thing, as we saw earlier from the sub. The world where all the creative people meet has no rules or boundaries, and where they try to work together, they have all these clashing ideas and they don't end up working. It's not really hard to see why none of them had any success in stopping Lord Business. Emmett even tells the others that while they're very creative people, they have to learn to cooperate and work as a team. And while conformity is villainized throughout the film, it also shows the benefits it could have. Not only do we see at the beginning of the film everyone being pretty content with the conformative lives they're living in, but following the rules and instructions is the last thing Lord Business expects master builders to do. So a bit later, they actually use that to their advantage by creating a ship that looks exactly like Lord Business's delivery ships to get inside the building. And it actually works. The scene where Emmett talks to the team about teamwork really does a great job highlighting the conformity versus creativity themes the film has. Going more into the plan itself, once the team gets inside the tower, they use some of Lord Business's relics as disguises. Benny and Metalbeard go into the control room to disable the shield surrounding the Craggle, which goes pretty well.
There are no movies in your area with that title.
Vitruvius is on lookout duty.
Okay.
Batman and Unikitty go into President Business's meeting room to make one more change to his plan. The plan being to add a sound system with 80-foot speakers. Emmett and Wildstyle disguise themselves as robots to transfer one of the speakers, only for them to go off to the Craggle. While they're headed to the Craggle, Emmett says that Wildstyle must be acting mean, constantly doubting Emmett could be the Special, to hide her true self. But it's revealed that she wanted to find the piece and be the Special. I do wish you got to know more on why Wildstyle wanted to be the Special though. Here she just says he wanted to find the piece. But Emmett then says the night they were escaping through the city, when Wildstyle said Emmett was talented and important, that was the first time anyone ever told him that, and he really wanted to live up to her expectations. That's when Wildstyle shares her real name, Lucy. Minor spoilers, but they do end up becoming a couple later down the line, and this romance is well built up to. This scene especially being really nice. So Emmett eventually reaches the Craggle and is ready to disarm it forever. After years of trying and failing to fight back against Lord Business due to their lack of cooperation, and wanting to do their own thing, with encouragement from someone who's had experience following rules all his life, a group of master builders managed to get close to stopping the Craggle. Plus, this is the moment Emmett won't be seen as a nobody anymore.
Lucy!
But now they all got caught and are taken to the think tank, where after fighting off some robots, Vitruvius fucking dies. It's there that Vitruvius tells Emmett that he made up the prophecy, which absolutely crushes him seeing as he's not actually the Special. He tried his best to live up to this prophecy, only for it to be fake in the end. Everyone then gets hooked to their brain things. Emmett gets tied to a battery, Lord Business cuts the piece of resistance off Emmett's back, and throws it out the window into the abyss, which I forgot to mention was established earlier. He then sets a timer to electrocute everyone, so Emmett could watch his hometown be craggled. Lord Business heads off and starts freezing everyone. It seems like all hope is lost for our heroes. Everyone's captured and waiting to die, Vitruvius is dead, the piece of resistance is gone, Lord Business has finally started enacting his plan, and Emmett lost all hope seeing as the prophecy was made up. But then, this happens.
Emmett.
Who said that?
I did. I am Ghost Vitruvius.
Vitruvius comes back as a ghost dangling from a string for comedic effect. And he says the reason he made up the prophecy was because he knew that anyone who found the piece could become the Special. And the only way you could become the Special is to believe. I know it sounds like a cat poster, but it's true. Not to mention he managed to get this far by believing. He managed to escape an army of robots, help his teammates survive, lead them into infiltrating Lord Business's tower, and get super close to disarming the Craggle and saving the universe. Even if the prophecy was fake all along, he did it all by believing. Emmett then gets the idea to sacrifice himself by jumping out the window, unplugging the electrocution thingy and freeing the others. Everyone is of course devastated. Even the other master builders who previously frowned upon him see Emmett as a hero now. If only there were more people in the world like him. But maybe there are. Wildstyle then gets the idea to broadcast a message to the universe. She says to everyone that Emmett used to be like them, following the same rules, going about the same routine, and he got so good at it that he basically became invisible. She used to look down upon Emmett and everyone else like him. She used to think these non-master builders were nothing more than blank slates with no original creative thoughts. But after seeing Emmett come up with plans to help him stop Lord Business, she became convinced that anyone can do what he did. So everyone in the universe is inspired to fight back against Lord Business's forces. All in all, this speech is a great scene that not only plays into the film's message, but nicely caps off Wildstyle's character arc, learning that even the most boring people can accomplish great things if they put their mind to it. The broadcast room gets invaded by robots, but Bad Cop, who was left to die with everyone else, comes in and says he'll hold them off. Benny, after waiting the entire film to do so, builds a spaceship for the gang to fly back to Bricksburg, where we see everyone across the universe has built their own little vehicles to fight off the robots. If only Emmett were here to see this. Oh wait, this is an animated kids movie. Of course our main character isn't dead. So Emmett falls through the hole and ends up in the real world. We see a kid flying around with a spaceship Benny made. Yeah, the entire events of the movie were all just a kid named Finn playing with Lego. Emmett can't really move seeing as he's in the real world, but he can still speak in his head. Then Finn's dad comes down the stairs, and he sees what his son has been up to.
No, this is a disaster. What?
Here it's revealed that the Lego is all the dad stuff, and he's not very happy to see what his son did. The dad sees his Lego as a highly sophisticated interlocking brick system, and not a toy. Finn tries to tell him otherwise, but the dad isn't convinced. So the dad decides to put everything back the way it's supposed to be. If you haven't caught on, Lord Business basically represents the dad. Seeing as his whole goal is to glue the world and keep everything the way it should, and the dad doesn't want his son to mess around with his Lego. In a way, the dad sort of represents the adults who collect toys and puts them on display, not just Lego. I definitely know how that feels. While not everyone acts like the dad with their displays, for example, my late uncle used to have a room full of Star Wars toys, and he was totally cool with me playing with them when I was a kid, but it's not hard to see why some adults would be sketchy to let young relatives play with their display. We then get a montage of the dad setting things back to normal with a bunch of other glue tubes. We cut from the Lego world with the micromanagers messing with the creations to the dad breaking them apart, and Emmett is watching all of this in pure horror.
Stop it! Oh, those are my friends, no!
Okay, obviously he doesn't look horrified, but his inner thoughts say otherwise. The dad then notices super glue on Emmett's back, and takes him to get it off with an X-Acto knife. Emmett then sees the piece of resistance under the table, and seizes his chance to retrieve it and save the day. Emmett falls on the floor and Finn distracts his dad to grab Emmett and take him back to the Bricksburg. This is where we see Emmett finally become a master builder, making a giant construction mech, thus completing his wonderful journey, from starting off as a klutzy blank slate hardly anyone knew, to getting roped in on some crazy adventure, where he ended up having great ideas that saved a team he was said to lead from certain death, to nearly saving the world and helping a team of misfit master builders cooperate and work together properly. And now he's attempting to save the world again, this time as a master builder. After another running moment with Unikitty paying off, with her deciding to just lash out at the robots after spending a whole movie repressing her frustrations, Emmett confronts Lord Business and they get into a fight. Business gets the upper hand by gluing Emmett's foot to the floor, but Emmett uses a secret weapon.
It's my hand. I want you to take it.
You want me to take your hand off?
No, I want you to join me.
Emmett says that Lord Business may see a bunch of weird, dorky stuff ruining his perfectly good stuff, but what Emmett sees are people, inspired by each other, and by business. People taking what he made and making something new and cool out of it. We cut back to the real world, where the dad gets a better look at the stuff his son created. He then looks at the President Business minifigure, and seeing it looks exactly like him. He looks at all his don't touch signs surrounding all his Lego creations, and then asks his son, what would Emmett say to President Business? We cut back to the Lego world where Emmett says, quote, "You don't have to be the bad guy. You are the most talented, most interesting, most extraordinary person in the universe. And you're capable of amazing things because you are the special. And so am I. And so is everyone." The prophecy is made up, but it's also true. It's about us. And right now, it's about you. And you can still change everything. End quote. With that, not only does President Business have a change of heart and place the piece on the Craggle, but the dad also allows his son to play with his Lego. So the day is saved and everyone is happy. President Business uses the Craggle antidote. Emmett and Lucy are together with Batman being okay with it. Bad Cop reuniting with his parents. And of course, Finn and his father playing together.
Now that I'm letting you come down here and play, guess who else gets to come down here and play?
Who?
Your sister.
What?
Oh yeah, the movie also ends with Finn's little sister bringing her Duplo creations to Bricksburg. But I'm sure that never went anywhere. Despite my immense nostalgia towards the Lego movie, it's not the only reason I consider it one of my favorite films. It's a genuinely amazing movie that's well animated, insanely funny, insanely enduring, insanely creative, and insanely heartfelt. It's a wonderful story of an average nobody who managed to prevent the end of the world by believing he could, showing that anyone can accomplish incredible things if we put our hearts to it. The message seems a little basic on paper, but it's still very well executed. It's also a great celebration of the Lego brand and our imaginations, embracing the idea to create whatever we want, but also shows some downsides of someone having too much creative freedom. I could also talk about the sequel and the spin-offs. I did consider talking about all of them in this video, but I'll still probably talk about this some other day. Anyway, yeah, I'm very happy to have a film like this impact my childhood, and I'm proud to claim this movie as one of my favorites of all time. This may even be one of my favorite works of fiction in general. I could say thank you to Phil and Miller for this film, but yeah, they can eat a ballsack. But to this movie, thank you. Thank you for those wonderful childhood memories I'll cherish. Thank you for your endearing humor and great characters. Thank you for your wonderful themes. Thank you for impacting my life. Happy 10 years to the Lego movie. Okay, bye.